The tea was lukewarm, but Elena didn't mind. She sat in the high-backed velvet chair of the penthouse, watching the city lights flicker like dying embers. Across from her sat Julian, her husband of 12 years, the man who had built an empire on the back of her inheritance and then tried to bury her alive to keep it. 3 years ago, Julian had orchestrated a tragic accident, a brake failure on a winding mountain road. He didn't know that Elena had crawled out of the wreckage, or that she had spent 36 months in the shadows of Eastern Europe, rebuilding her face and her soul. The architect of ruin. Julian thought he was celebrating. Tonight was the merger that would make him the most powerful man in the sector. He looked at the woman across from him, his new business consultant, a mysterious investor named Lena Thorne. He didn't recognize the eyes, hardened by fire and cold calculation. "To the future," Julian said, raising a glass of vintage scotch. "To justice," Elena replied, her voice a low melodic rasp. The slow burn. The revenge wasn't a single blow, it was 1,000 tiny cuts. Over the last 6 months, Elena, as Lena Thorne, had meticulously dismantled Julian's life. The finances. She had advised him into high-risk offshore accounts that were actually shells controlled by her. The reputation. She leaked just enough evidence of his past insider trading to the SEC to trigger a quiet, looming investigation. The inner circle. She had seduced his loyalty, turning his most trusted lawyers against him with proof of how he planned to scapegoat them if the merger failed. The reveal. As Julian went to take a sip, his hand trembled. He looked at his phone. A notification. Accounts frozen. Another. Subpoena delivered. "Is something wrong, Julian?" she asked, leaning forward into the light. I don't understand. The merger was supposed to close 10 minutes ago. The merger didn't close. I bought the majority shares of your partner's company this morning. I've decided to liquidate your assets instead. Julian's face went pale. "Who are you? How do you know my name?" Elena reached into her clutch and pulled out a small charred silver locket, the one he thought had burned in the car. She slid it across the table. "You always said I had a head for business, Julian. You just forgot that I owned the business before you owned me." Thrifterath. The sirens began to wail in the street below. Elena stood up, smoothing her silk dress. She hadn't called the police for the accident. She had called them for the millions in tax fraud she had documented over the last 3 years. The accident would be the final nail in his coffin once the forensics team revisited the old files she'd conveniently found. "You killed me once," she whispered, leaning down so her breath hit his ear. "I just returned the favor by letting you live long enough to watch everything you love turn to ash." She walked out of the penthouse without looking back. The cool night air felt like a rebirth. Would you like me to expand on the missing years of her recovery? Or perhaps write a scene detailing Julian's final realization in the courtroom?